So in that first packet I gave you for science fair, there were oodles, pages upon pages of different sources, resources that you could go to and use to build your own science fair project, go see other science fair projects and how they were built, just kind of take a look and just see what's available. Some of you just really don't know what you want to do, and that's okay. One of the science websites that I like to use is sciencebuddies.org, and I like it for so many different reasons why. Here's the first reason why. You can click on here and go, help me find a project, and you're going to select Topic Selection Wizard. You're going to say, when is your project due? So you need to say in 2 to 4 weeks. I think that's reasonable. You're going to choose your grade in school. And I'm not assigning you anything specific, so everybody should click, I can pick any area for my project. And if you're not very good at science, you're just starting. If you're a junior, you probably need to put progressing or confident. Make sure you read the instructions. You're a yes if you do that activity or you feel that way very often. Sometimes I do this activity or feel this way once in a while, maybe, or occasionally. Sometimes means I do this once or twice a year and only when I'm bored to tears and have nothing else better to do. Sometimes should be clicked on very rarely. If you click on sometimes too much, it will not help you. And no, I have not or almost never do this activity or feel this way. Or if you're not sure about the answer. So you're going to go through and you're going to select which ones you agree to, yes, sometimes, or no. After you've answered the 26 prompts, it's going to ask you to enter in the zip code, and it's going to ask if you're a student, select your gender, and select the ethnicity. Both of these are optional, but they do make recommendations based on that. So I've clicked the Make the Recommendation button, and it's given me just pages and pages and pages on up to past 24 pages worth of different ideas. Here's some things you can do. You can refine your search a little bit. You can take a look at beginner only, intermediate only, or advanced, or you can take off advanced and click on beginner and intermediate. So you can do one or two, and it'll tell you here, intermediate, beginner, advanced. Okay, so that just gives you kind of a little bit of an idea. You need to keep in mind your project as well as your age group for which one you're selecting. Also, so this gives you another idea of what each of the buttons mean. So a beginner would be for somebody from kindergarten to 4th grade. Intermediate would be from 4th grade to, say, 8th grade. And 9th grade to 12th grade would be considered advanced. So if it's a very difficult project and you're in 9th grade, I'd say some intermediate problems would be okay, but most of you will be clicking on the advanced categories. The other filter is time. So, do you want it to be very short, less than a day, 2 to 5 days, 6 to 10, long, 2 to 4 weeks, or very long? At this point, you probably do not have very long, so I would do anywhere from short, average, or long. Now that I've selected both of my filters and I've refined my search, you can see that it still gives me quite a few, but not as many. Now I have 16. So some different things. Materials for sound barriers. What are the best materials to use for blocking out unwanted noise from the environment? You can build a test box or test frame around an audio speaker. Use a sound level meter to measure the speaker output. Use different materials to cover the walls of your test box and see which materials do the best job at blocking sound. Testing how clothing choices impact the behaviors of others around us. Does a cell phone conversation affect reaction time? The effects of card counting on simple card games. Some of these are good and some of them are bad. They're not exactly all science. And the numbers you would need to do are quite large. Here's one that definitely interests me and we've discussed in class. Drugs and genetics. Why do some people respond to drugs differently than others? So it gives me a little bit of information, but without opening the whole entire thing, I can just click here for more details, and it tells me it's a short experiment, 2 to 5 days. The prerequisites, things I need, basic understanding of what genes, DNA, and proteins are. So if I don't know what those are, I'm going to need to do a little bit of background research and maybe talk to Mrs. Lewis. Material availability, it's pretty relatively available, and it's very low. It should cost you $20 or less, and there's no safety issues. So if this is something that you think, well, maybe I don't really want to get into all of this, then you can click back out less details and keep moving forward. Or if it sounds like something you're interested in, you could just open up the entire thing. Now this is where I'm going to pause for a second and say, many of you have been encouraged to come up with your own science fair experiment. But if you're not sure exactly how to build it or how to go around about building it, sorry, tongue-tied, you can come through and take a look at Science Buddies and see how they've written their abstract, their objective. Notice they've given credit to where credit's due. They have cited different pages that they have used and where they got their information. They've given you background. So is this enough background? It's a great start, but you will still need to do your own research on other websites. So here's where I'm going to give you a heads up. You need to go to .gov websites or edu websites for the most part. .org can be bought by anybody. Right now today, I can get out my credit card and I can buy Mrs. Lewis is so awesome.org, and it will look legit, but we all know it's not. It also tells you the materials and the equipment that you'll need. Don't buy any of that. It even lays out a procedure for you so you can see these are the things that you need to know. This is the next step. So if you're not that great at building a procedure, it can show you step by step what you need to do, as well as variations. You've been encouraged to take a look at Science Buddies and other websites to see if you can find something that interests you, but what could you change about it to make it better than how the last person left it? Because as scientists, that's what we do. We take an experiment that somebody else has done. We take their research and we go, what were their holes? What were their mistakes? What are things that we can improve on? Were they asking the right questions? Maybe I can ask something different. And that's what you should be doing. So don't overlook this resource. Last but not least, there's a help tab on Science Buddies, and it gives you some great little things like a science fair project guide, genetics, Science Buddies tutorials, Big Pharma, okay? It'll send you to all those, and depending on where you're at and what you're studying, it's going to send you to, most of the time, pretty legitimate sources. So we were on project ideas. Now if we come to the tab that says project guide, it's going to actually help you get there. It talks about the scientific method, your question, a laboratory notebook, which we haven't even begun to discuss. What is your background research? Finding information. What about variables? Variables for beginners if you're not that great. What about the hypothesis? Experimental procedure. How do I put together a materials list? And what about the actual conducting an experiment? So this is a great source of information and guidance for you for those days that you're working on your science fair, but you're at home alone and not in the classroom. So again, don't overlook this site. It's a great resource.